because he was quite connected, he had a very high position, and thanks to him, I had access to interviews no journalist could have. Like once he organized me some interview with a drug baron, imagine, on the Khyber Pass between Peshawar and Kabul. So I went there, and that guy, I met the guy in a fortress. And the first words he told me, he said, nobody comes out from here.
This interview is really about two women. One of them you have just heard, Laurence Gourret. The other one is Benazir Bhutto. And to be frank, putting this all together, I had to make some really hard choices because I could have done the whole interview just on Laurence. Easily. The life she has lived, it reads like a novel, virtually. Before living in the West Indies and then Italy as editor-in-chief for a fashion magazine, of all places, she spent nearly a decade in Pakistan as a woman, not just reporting, but living deeply, dangerously, reporting in the heart of a country where very few outsiders are truly allowed in. And she got close, intimately close, to power, to secrets, to people. And yes, to love. She lost that love and she lost Pakistan too. The ISI, Pakistan's intelligence service, threw her out, literally, for getting too close, for seeing too much, for telling stories that weren't meant to be told. That exile wasn't just professional, it was virtually personal. She paid a price most reporters never have to imagine, and yet she stayed true to the story. But then there's Benazir Bhutto, and I couldn't ignore that story either because the two are really interwoven. This wasn't just any moment in Pakistan's history, it was the moment. A turning point, a tragedy in slow motion. And at the center of it all, one of the most iconic political figures of the last century, Benazir Bhutto. Once hailed, especially by us in the West, as Pakistan's great hope. The first woman to lead a Muslim majority country. Oxford polish, democratic promise, wrapped in a silk scarf. But that was the myth. The woman, far more layered, far more nuanced. And Laurence, she saw her without the veil, figuratively and literally. Laurence sat with Benazir. She listened to her, watched her operate behind closed doors. And what she saw wasn't just some flawless heroine. It was a woman navigating a ruthless power game. Charming, calculating, often contradictory. A woman raised in tragedy. She saw her father being hanged. She was surrounded by blood and betrayal. She tried to bend a brutal system to her will, whilst being shaped by it. And here's maybe a good moment to rewind for a second, because Benazir's father, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, brilliant, autocratic, and ultimately hanged by the very military he once empowered. All the while, Benazir, who had a chance to go into exile like the rest of her family, was at his side. Her brother Murtaza, gunned down on her watch. Her husband, Asif Zadari, Mr. 10%, set in prison for a whole decade, accused of corruption so flagrant it became almost a legend. And through it all, Benazir tried to hold on to power, sometimes by principle, sometimes by compromise. She was twice elected and twice ousted, lived in exile, came back, and in 2007 walked straight into the storm she knew was coming. Death threats everywhere, security warnings, the writings on the wall, and still she stepped onto that stage again. She tried it for the third time. And she stepped into the crowd, which proved to be fatal. And that's where it ended. Broad daylight, blown apart by a suicide bomber in the very city she once ruled. And here's exactly what haunts Laurence. Benazir knew. She knew. And she did it anyway. That's not martyrdom. That's something else. Fatalism, conviction, maybe both. And that's exactly the kind of paradox that Laurence captures maybe better than anyone. Because she wasn't just writing about Benazir, she was writing from within her orbit. From inside the rooms where power whispers and loyalty vanishes. That's what makes her voice so rare and so necessary. Because she didn't just deliver a hagiography. She told the truth as she saw it, up close, unvarnished and deeply, deeply human. And that's why this story isn't just about two women. It's about the courage to see power clearly and the costs of getting too close. Benazir's life, it's one of those rare, real-world stories that feels stranger than fiction. Power, betrayal, blood, exile, and yes, hope. As much ground as we try to cover in this interview, we barely scratch the surface. So I've put together a full exposé on Substack. It dives deep into the history, the controversies, the alliances, and the assassinations. You will find all the background, all the threads we couldn't fully explore there. And of course, every source is there too. No guesswork, no fluff, no opinions. You will find the link in the description. Go check it out. Okay, on peut commencer?
On commence. On commence.
Madame Gourret, Laurence, thank you for taking the time here in your beautiful Riad in Marrakesh.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm fine. Very happy to welcome you in that place.
The pleasure is all mine. Now, I had the idea of interviewing you based on this book you wrote. It's called Behind the Veil from Benazir Bhutto, and I think it's kind of a double meaning. It's behind the veil of the person, the personage of Benazir Bhutto, but it's also behind the veil of the Pakistani society.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, before we dive into the topic of Benazir Bhutto and Pakistan, I really would like you to elaborate a little bit about your life, because your life is, I would say, quite extraordinary.
Not at all. Not at all.
We could spend the whole interview, of course, talking about your life. But I would like you to encapsulate what you as a journalist, and this is what I want to say now already, you were 10 years as a female journalist in Pakistan, but also in other countries.
Yes.
So if you could give us a brief roundup of your life.
Yes, of course.
It's a difficult question, yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
to summarize
Yes,
everything.
yes,
But
please.
you know, everything is based on personality and temperament of a person. And since I was born, I was always interested in traveling, in understanding other culture and people. So I studied law and different languages. Very young, I went to China to study Chinese. I lived in China, then I worked in China as a journalist.
So you talk Mandarin?
Yes, I can speak Mandarin, yeah.
Chapeau.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a wonderful language, fascinating civilization. And so, all my life, I was really willing to live in a country where I could really understand, you know, what is happening, the culture, the philosophy, the psyche of the people. Not to go, you know, like many people just for a trip, or even as a, you know, journalist, just staying a couple of weeks and coming back. What I was interested in was to really sink myself into the psyche of other culture and live with the people to really understand. And this is luckily what I could do in different countries, in China, in Pakistan, in West Indies, in Italy. And how I chose the country, I mean, it was just destiny. Opportunities were coming to me, and I was just following, you know, the stream. Like the Taoists said, you have to follow where the water leads you to. And this is what I did all my life. So I'm lucky today to be in Morocco. I love the country. I love Islamic countries for so many reasons, for the philosophy, for the art, for the hospitality and warmth of the people. And so I don't know if I summarized well, you know, but that was my life.
Mm-hmm. That was your life in terms of location.
Yeah.
But what about your life in terms of occupation as a journalist? Because you were chief editor in 2 different magazines.
Yeah, I was chief editor in Italy for a fashion magazine called You Professional. So again, it was opportunity. One day a friend asked me if I would be interested, and I said, great. I mean, after Pakistan, West Indies, it was a very different topics also. And so I was so happy to work in Italy. Italians are so creative, it was just fabulous. And in terms of fashion, I could have dreamt of a better country. So that was an amazing experience. And working with Italian people also was fascinating. They work hard, but they work with the spirit, they work with the charm, they work with the humor, so it was just fabulous.
That must have been quite a, I don't want to say culture shock, but almost, right? From covering politics in Pakistan to covering fashion in Italy. I mean,
quite true, and especially after Italy. I mean, before Italy, I went to West Indies. So can you imagine, from a dress code point of view, from the burqa, you go to the bikini on the beach, because my newspaper, the office was on the beach. So it was very full of contrast. But I mean, this is life. You have to enjoy life. It has to be like that, and you have to adapt yourself. And this is what I try to do all my life, to adapt myself according to the culture, to the psyche of the people, and that's it.
So if you said a couple of times West Indies, what exactly do you mean West Indies?
In the Grenadines Islands, you know, Savassan. I was based in Savassan.
And you covered there what?
And I was covering the whole area.
Okay, in terms of?
I mean offshore bankings and tourism. And I was moving from one island to the other island in a very, very small plane, you know, 2 places plane. So it was quite interesting, quite adventurous also, yeah.
I can remember I was flying once in a small plane, and the image that I remember is the woman in front of me, her hairs were standing because it fell in such a...
True, quite true, because you have to fly over volcanoes. So it's sometimes you feel so scared, you know, it's terrible.
Good, so I think we, as far as we could in this encapsulation, looked a little bit at your, I would say, colorful and eventful life, and maybe we can now switch forward to Pakistan.
Yeah.
First of all, how did you come to Pakistan?
Before being a journalist, just before being a journalist, I had a PR agency in Paris, and one day the embassy of Pakistan called me, asking me to bring a fashion designer to Pakistan for a fashion show.
That was when? Which year?
That was end of the 80s, early 90s. So I called different fashion designer, and Olivier Lapidus agreed to come to Pakistan with me. So that was the way I arrived in Pakistan. But at the same time, at that time, I was starting writing articles, sending a few articles to the press. Being in Pakistan, beside that event, a fashion event, a friend, a journalist, told me, would you be interested to interview Benazir Bhutto? I was amazed, I was thrilled, because Benazir, she was such a mystery for me. I was really wondering how a woman in such a country could be in politics, could lead a country of a very conservative people. So of course, I said, yes, with great pleasure. And that was the way the story of Pakistan started.
We had a conversation yesterday, and you told me that you came a close friend to a gentleman in Pakistan, and that he opened the doors.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that you did not know this gentleman from the very beginning, right?
No. I met him through, those events, fashion events with Oliver Lapidus, because that person was in charge of the Export Promotion Bureau in Pakistan. He was a high civil servant.
Yeah. So who was in power when you arrived in Pakistan?
Actually, Nawaz Sharif was in power.
Yeah.
Then Benazir was trying to reconquest the power, which he did, you know. But Nawaz Sharif was in power.
There were quite a number, if I remember correctly, scandals also in regards to his presidency.
Yeah, like most politicians, I would say. All of them. Nawaz Sharif, even Benazir, surrounding of those two people, but except Imran Khan.
We can talk about him because he's now in jail, right? For how 25 years of life? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's talk about him because it's an interesting story because
Yeah.
he's playing right now.
Yeah. True. But Imran Khan, maybe I would say, is the only person who really impressed me. As a philanthropist, he is a very genuine person. He really wants to do something for the country.
There's a lot of public support.
Yeah.
Which is why he's in jail.
Exactly. Everything is false. I mean, he's the only genuine politician really moved by some idealism to change the country, to do something for the poor people and really change the country. He doesn't see his own interest. He is not corrupt, nothing of that sort. And I was so impressed to meet him.
You met him?
Yeah.
When was that?
That was in the 90s. He had just created, his party. He was just starting politics. Actually, I met him in Lahore because he has built that extraordinary hospital for people suffering from cancer. And he's treating the people freely without any charge, And I was really amazed. And he talked very openly to me. He told me about his life, Playboy life, and then it completely changed.
You filmed an interview?
Yeah.
You still have the footage?
Footage, I don't know. But he was really...
To give the viewer, I mean, I'm digressing a little bit, but it's interesting. To give the viewer a little bit of background information. So Imran Khan was arrested, rearrested, set free, etc., a couple of times.
Yeah.
And now, of course, because he is a real contender for Pakistani power, I don't know, he got 25 years or something, or life in prison or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a really big case.
Yeah.
So if you can encapsulate the story of Imran Khan briefly for viewers who do not know.
Yes, of course. So Imran Khan was known as a famous cricket captain. The Pakistan won the World Cup in cricket, thanks to him. Then, always he was interested and fighting with ideas about the country, fighting against corruption. So I think one day he got this idea, logically, to create that party, the Party for Justice, which he did. And that was a big wave of success all over the country when he became prime minister after the time of Musharraf. And that was something amazing because he really did something for the country. But again, because of the strength of the money, the industrialists, the feudal people in the country.
And
he was,
American influence.
Yeah. So, and the Americans, because he had a very strong, he has a dignity. He really wanted to stand strong against the West and against the corruption of his country. So it was a very big challenge for him. That's why he got into so many troubles, unfortunately.
Do you think he will remain in jail, or might the political situation in Pakistan
You
change?
never know. In Pakistan, people go to jail, come out to jail. Everybody has been to jail. Everybody came out from jail. Look at Benazir's husband, Ali Sadari, went to jail. Now he's president. I mean, you can never know. I really hope that he comes back to power. I really hope so.
I probably should have said this at the beginning. I mean, they're recording this interview at the time when the tensions between the tensions between two nuclear superpowers,
Yes.
India and Pakistan,
Yes.
I think is as high as it hasn't been for a very long time, right? So the story of Pakistan, but also the interests behind Pakistan, the geopolitical interests, are very much alive today. Yeah.
Quite true, quite true. And unfortunately, I don't see how this will be solved. You know, for the past 70 years, more than 70 years, Kashmir has been an issue. And if you think about it, why? It's simple, and you cannot solve it, you know. Majority of people are Muslims in that region dominated by India. And more the Indians want to take control. Modi wants to take full control on Kashmir. So it means there will be more and more attacks, and I don't see the end of it. Even the United Nations couldn't solve it, you know. It's terrible.
There's so many similarities, and I know I shouldn't compare, but there's so many similarities between India and Israel, right?
Sure.
I mean, Modi was the first Indian PM ever to visit Israel. Yeah? They all taken Israel as an example. You know, this ethno-nationalism. Modi, you know, he's really trying to suppress the Muslims in general. I saw a really disturbing interview, and that I don't know who said it, one of his governments, that to drive them out is the kindest thing that India could do, etc., etc. So that the rhetoric is...
It's horrible, yeah.
Again, very similar to what happens in Israel.
Absolutely.
This
is so unfortunate, really.
Yeah.
Really.
And the whole
and so we don't see any light for that conflict. I don't see how it can be solved, really. So...
The conflict, if you say the conflict, be specific.
Yeah, the conflict, territorial conflict. Yeah. Because what are you going to do with the majority of Muslim people? You can't kill them all. I mean, it's terrible. And those people will never accept to be dominated by India. I mean, originally it was independent. It was a state run by a Maratha. And that was the start of the problem, actually, because it was Hindu, the last Maratha in Kashmir. And he made alliance with India.
What was, I mean, we could dig into history, but the long fingers or the long reach of the former British Empire, of course, has played a major role in the tensions that we have not only...
Absolutely.
Not only...
You know what, I really believe that partition was a total mistake. And again, the West messed up everything. You know, like we did in the Middle East. Same. So that partition was absolutely, there was no sense. Actually, they didn't want to, nobody wanted the partition. But because of the political ideas of Nehru's against the reality of Pakistan. Pakistan, let me explain.
You briefly mentioned Nehru, but you have to explain.
Yeah, so Nehru was the political figure at the time of partition, and he was going to run the country. He had a deal with the British. He was going to run the country after independence. On the west side of India, there were the different states which are going to become Pakistan. There was Jinnah. Jinnah was at the head, a political figure of the Muslim League, and he was going to run the country. Those two people at the beginning, they didn't want partition, but because in Pakistan there were those big feudal lords called the Zamindar, and because of the idea of Nehru to go on some reforms, to take the land from those people, religion was,
the
tool to solve the problem, and the partition came because of that.
Yeah. If we now go back to Pakistan at the time of Benazir Bhutto.
Yeah.
You interviewed Benazir Bhutto,
yeah.
I understood this correctly. Yeah? So
yeah.
that was at the relative beginning of your stay there. So
yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I met her in Islamabad. At that time, she was very much involved in political rallies to win the power again. She had been elected the first time in 98 and then defeated. I mean, Nawaz Sharif took the power, and she was in the process of going back to power, and she won the election actually. And I was amazed because I was wondering how.
May I ask? Sorry to interrupt. Before you actually met her,
Yeah,
what did you think about her before you met her?
it was a question mark. Question mark. How come a woman can be a prime minister in a country where religion, I mean, the Islam of Pakistan is a little bit rigid, as you may know. It's a feudal country. Women are pretty much under the control of male. So I thought I wanted to understand what was the miracle with Benazir. And so that's why I was so interested in meeting her, discussing with her, understanding her background, understanding that legacy her father gave her. And she had everything, Benazir. She was extremely intelligent, very charismatic, and beautiful. All the tools, very diplomatic. She was educated in Great Britain, in America, so all the ingredients.
Oxford, Cambridge.
Yeah. Exactly. And then Harvard. So everything to be a strong woman. And she was very charismatic.
I'm asking because I deduct from your book, you paint a little bit different than it's the kind of glorified image that was presented about her in the West.
Yes. So that was the first impression. After when she came into power, people were hoping change would happen, less corruption, more power to women, improvement of women conditions, so many things. And actually, to be brief, things didn't work that way. I mean, she could do very little. So I was deeply disappointed, like so many people, But now, with the passing of time, you realize it is so difficult to make things smooth in such a country where, the feudals, the industrials, the army, all those powers, the bureaucracy, all the powers are so strong, and to impose reforms are extremely difficult.
You just said the Secret Service, Army and Secret Service. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ISI is, I believe, in the top 3 best, between quotation marks, secret services in the world. Many people are surprised when they hear that.
Yeah.
But it's everywhere. It's not only national, but also international.
True, quite true.
Yeah. And of course.
And they follow everybody. I was followed.
Tell us.
I was followed. Actually, wherever I was going, there was the same guy following me in the plane.
When did it start?
It started after a few interviews with Benazir Bhutto. I started having that guy following me everywhere. And even, sometimes I was traveling back and forth to France, where my family was. And it was almost anxious. I got some calls saying, please, this time you don't come, you're going to be arrested at the airport. So they just follow everything, every single journalist. You are absolutely watched all the time.
Okay, so on one side, you have the opportunity to interview people like Benazir Bhutto.
True.
Yeah? So on one side, there is a willingness from those people, and we're gonna discuss some others, to have those interviews. But on the other side, you probably have made some, I don't want to say enemies, but some...
Of course.
Yeah, in the background. So,
True.
Where exactly is this split?
Yeah, the split is that you carry on, you go on, till the time you cannot carry on, and you feel it. You feel unsafe, you get more calls, you get more pressure, and you don't go back to the country. This is what happened to me, actually.
We're come to that.
Yeah.
We come to that.
Yeah.
But what were the, let's say, controversial topics that were so controversial that they tried to get rid of you?
Yeah. Okay. Child labor, drug, corruption, women condition. So all those topics,
Okay.
they were not happy with them.
And you published where? I mean, you didn't publish within Pakistan, you published where?
Of course, not within Pakistan, impossible. I had a few journalist friends, they wrote articles about my book, but my book was published by Gallimard de Noël in the first edition was in 87. This was republished here after the death of Benazir. I updated the book and I added some pictures because Benazir gave me a lot of personal pictures. So I wanted to pay a certain form of homage to her, yeah.
So again, so you came to Pakistan, you started to publish and to interview.
Yeah.
So from what you can tell today, what were the most controversial topics that you covered? Which brought you on the radar of, let's say, ISI and...
Maybe corruption and the child labor. People didn't like at all. You know, I went to the places where children were working on making bricks, you know. So then I interviewed human fighters, you know, human rights fighters, famous lawyers, and on human rights conditions. So all those topics were absolutely banned, you know, and they were not happy at all with it. And when they knew my book was about to come out, then it became even more tense and difficult.
Okay, what did they do?
Well, they told me very clearly, if you come back, you will not go out from the country.
And you went back anyway?
Couple of times, then I stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was scary.
Yeah.
It was scary.
Yeah. So that was your professional life. And tell me if you don't want to go there, but when you built up a private life there too, of course.
Yeah.
I understood you have a daughter from
Yes,
the
I have a daughter, absolutely beautiful daughter. You know, it's part of love is part of life, and there is no rule for love. And this happened in Pakistan, yeah.
Okay.
I met somebody and we had an incredible love story, but because of so many reasons, pressure of society and other reasons, we couldn't make our life together, but we had that wonderful daughter.
Okay. As far as you feel free to talk about it, I know you told me that this person gave you also a little bit access into those political circles, maybe?
Because he was quite connected, he had a very high position, and thanks to him I had access to interviews no journalist could have. Like once he organized me some interview with a drug baron, imagine, on the Khyber Pass between Peshawar and Kabul. So I went there, and that guy, I met the guy in a fortress. And the first words he told me, he said, you know, nobody comes out from here. So I got so scared. I thought, my God, but at the end, he let me go. But he was very open, telling me about the drug traffic, the money he was making. And he was part even of the parliament, can you believe? So those kind of things, you cannot even imagine, you know.
If you have some other examples like this, just because we are very interested to hear them.
Yeah, there is something very shocking for me. You know, in Pakistan, in some areas, they still sell women by weight. Can you believe?
Did you say they still sell them or they sold them at that time?
When I was there, I don't know if it's
Okay.
still happening today, but women were sold by weight. Can you believe this is happening? I mean, and I had a big investigation on that, on women condition, or they are, you know, some women living in the feudal land can be the whole life prisoner of the landlord, and they live like slaves. So I was so upset by all that. And the way some women are treated also. If the husband is not happy with his wife, he would just throw some acid on his face and then throw her in the street, you know. So all those subjects were extremely touchy, and I investigated a lot on that. And thank God in Pakistan there is a fantastic organization called EDI. EDI is a man who has created that charity hospital. If people have accident, he would send some ambulances, you know, and he's doing so much. If babies are just left alone in the street or thrown in the street, he will take them to some orphanages he has created. He's doing a fantastic work for all those people deprived of everything in Pakistan.
These initiatives must be very difficult to execute, but also, I imagine, quite frustrating because it's just a drop on a...
Yeah, but thank God, you know, that EDI Foundation has developed a lot in Pakistan, even outside Pakistan. The man had a strong faith, you know, and he was like a saint. I would say he was like a saint. He was amazing with his wife, the work he did in Pakistan. That was just incredible, because too many people are suffering in that country.
Did you do any reporting on the nuclear development of Pakistan?
Well, just a little bit, yes. Actually, you know, thanks to a French president, Benazir could obtain many things from France on the nuclear issue. So Mitterrand was visiting Shalimar Garden with Benazir Bhutto, and at that point he agreed to send to Pakistan some nuclear help, and it helped the country to become a nuclear power.
Another similarity with Israel, because France had
Exactement.
Interestingly, I live in the Netherlands, and the father of the Pakistani nuclear bomb was actually studying nuclear physics in the Netherlands.
You see.
So yeah. I read a report somewhere where he actually explicitly thanked the Netherlands. So there is an overlap in this respect. But I would like to come back to your partner at the time. You told me, meanwhile, he's deceased. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how was that when he first introduced you in those political circles as a woman?
Well, I mean, it was easy. We were discussing the topics. I would tell him what interest I have, and he would help me to get the connections, to organize. You know, all the logistics were extremely easy thanks to him, you know, and introduction. And that man, Yakuti, was extremely articulate and intelligent, and he would very open-minded, and he would help me, and we shared the same ideas and opinions.
So he was in the government. So
he was in the government. He was a high civil servant. Yeah.
So what? Just because I'm interested. So
yeah.
You said she had the same ideas and opinions. So what were those ideas and opinions?
He had. Yeah. Well. Like me, he was desperate to see the corruption, to see the attitude of the politicians, to see the attitude of the army, to see the women condition also. So absolutely, we shared absolutely. That's why maybe he helped me so much also, because as a civil servant, he couldn't say openly,
but when you were kind of on the radar of the ISI, also the Secret Service, did that not have any repercussions for him?
Yes, of course.
Civil servant?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So he had a lot of problems. Lots of problems.
Many?
Yeah. Pressure, and they wanted to, on top of it, they knew about our relationship. So they wanted to stop that immediately. So that was part, I suppose, of the separation, you know. because of the pressure.
Can you talk about it?
And the pressure and the blackmail on, he had a family before he met me, so on pressure on the family, on the ex-wife and children.
Okay, so you left, but I don't want to go there yet. It's too early to talk about you leaving Pakistan. Yeah, there's so much more to discuss. Yeah. I find we only scratched the surface, first of all, in regards to your interviews with Benazir Bhutto, but also with other politicians.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Who else, except for Benazir Bhutto, stuck out for you?
Nawaz Sharif, I interviewed him. I accompanied him when he was rallying, for the election. I was not much impressed.
No, but
I was not much impressed intellectually.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing to do with Benazir or Imran Khan.
What was his strength? I mean, connections,
Connections,
military,
money.
Money. Which came from?
He is a rich industrialist from Punjab. And at the time of the British, the family became very rich. Yeah. But I was not impressed at all.
Okay, any examples that you can tell us? What did he say or what did he do?
I don't know if I could tell you this is... okay. That was reported to me. I don't know if it's 100% true. He was traveling to UK. And there was a big dinner organized by the ambassador. So everybody was delivering a speech. But he was not, nobody told him he would have to speak. And he was unable to say anything. Some people told me it was painful.
Who else did you interview from the political elites?
Lots of,
Who stuck
some
out
ministers.
Yeah, but who stuck out for you? Positive or negative? I mean,
positively, one of the minister of Benazir Bhutto, foreign minister, he was incredible. That man was incredible. Because of his intelligence, analysis of the country, geopolitical. Sadar Asef Ahmed Ali, he was an incredible man, incredible. So intelligent, so keen, so accurate on the world situation, And some other people didn't impress me at all. Like one day, I was with a finance minister, it was just painful. And this I was commenting often with Yakut, and he was telling me, thank God, the civil servants working for those ministers are well trained, well educated, and they actually, run the business, not the ministers. Some ministers are totally unable. Why? Because you become minister, because you have helped somebody for an election, it doesn't mean you're qualified in your field. So that happened a lot in Pakistan,
You said you were about 10 years in Pakistan.
Yeah.
So what are the top 2 or top 3 stories that you covered whilst you were there?
Top 3 stories, the rally of Benazir when he was becoming again Prime Minister. I was in the Himalaya, in Murray. It's 80 kilometers from Islamabad. That has been maybe the strongest experience I ever lived in Pakistan. I arrived, there were a million of people waiting for her.
And it was just before she became second time. Yeah.
Just before second time, exactly. And we arrived. So many people, they had been waiting for 5-6 hours, and it was summer. So we had, those very strong rain. And Benazir arrived. And there was, in the crowd, people were shouting, and she started talking to everybody. All of a sudden, as she started the speech, the rain started falling, and immediately somebody came to her with an umbrella. She pushed the umbrella. She said, I want to be with my sisters, with my brothers, and we will reconquer the power. And she delivered a fantastic speech. But the way she acted was just incredible. She was so charismatic. So that political rally really left such an imprint in my soul, in my memory. She was incredible. And she was such a fighter. She had the words. She was so articulate, like Ali Bhutto, like her father, actually. And I think she had that legacy. And among all the children, she was the most intelligent and the most articulate, for sure.
You surprised me a little bit, because the sentiment that I got from your book is how shall I say this? It does not really describe what you just said.
That was the beginning.
Okay.
That rally was the beginning of my meeting. That was the very beginning.
Yes.
She became elected a second time. She was with the actual president, Zardari, husband. And then...
We should talk about him also.
Yeah. Unfortunately, maybe she followed him, but corruption, and again...
That was Mr. 10%, right?
Yeah, exactly. Mr. 10% actually was taking more, and people used to have a joke with that, saying, if you want to pay less, go to Benazir, she's taking less as a commission, on everything. So unfortunately, she went also on that slope, of corruption. So I was disappointed, can you believe? Because I had such a face, in her. I was totally involved. I was totally supporting her, following her. I was so pro-Bibi. And I was so disappointed later on to see that because of the influence of the husband. And she became a little bit cynical, I don't know. There were some changes in her personality. Maybe she realized she wouldn't be able to do a lot as she wished, as she hoped at the beginning. And she just followed, that slope of corruption and misbehaving. And she disappointed everybody, the women, the lawyer, the civil society, even the president. She disappointed everybody.
She saw her father being executed in a kind of political show trial.
Yeah.
Then her husband has not had a really good reputation, to say it mildly.
Yeah.
Then she herself was assassinated.
So, she herself was assassinated. When the husband was in jail, she left the country. That was the time Musharraf came to power, end of the 90s. 97, if I remember well. So she went to Dubai and London, and she was almost 10 years, maybe taking a little bit of political maturity, thinking, until 2007, when finally Musharraf was slowly losing all his power and credibility and everything. She was able to come back. Election would be organized. She was going to contest the election. At that time, she was killed. But you know what happened? She knew she was going to be killed. She knew it, and she went back. So for that reason, I have such an admiration. This woman who was living happily in Dubai and London, she gave her life. She knew she was going to be killed. She had to receive different letters. It was so very dangerous. She even wrote testimony, that was horrible. And she offered her life, and actually she was killed. Between us, I think Musharraf was part of but she was killed. So, after writing, this is why I republished a book on her, because I wanted to update. Who is going to give the life, for some political idealism? And for that reason, I thought she was amazing, incredible. And at the end of the day, at the end of her life, she was really, really pushed by that will of doing something for the country, with all the risk she knew she was going to face.
I tried one more time. So, because you just said, I mean, I have the feeling that you really admired her. Still do.
Yeah.
And then I come back again to your book, and the sentiment that I get
Yeah.
is that you paint a different picture than it was the typical picture in the West.
Yeah.
So, where's this discrepancy coming from? So in the West, especially in America, it was this kind of glorified,
Yes.
exactly like you said, it's the
True.
first woman,
Quite true.
etc., and
Yeah.
reform and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I see a more nuanced picture in the book. But if I hear you talking now, I can feel this admiration that you're still
Yes.
having. So as a
Yes.
journalist, you basically succeeded in painting a more objective picture than you as a person experience. I find this really remarkable. That's how journalism should be. But this is dying out, this type of objectivity, right?
Yeah.
But I'm still trying to explore what made you a bit more, let's say, to demystify Benazir Bhutto, let's say it this way. What are the items that you feel that in the West were misrepresented about her?
Well, people are never black and white. This is what I felt. She was 100% human, 100%, with a plus point, minus point. Plus point when she started the political life, when her father was in jail. She remained in Pakistan. The brothers were away, living abroad. She was the only one to remain in Pakistan, to go to jail to see the father before he was executed. Yeah. Then she fought back. She came back for the election, and she won the election. She wanted to do something, but the weight of the country was too heavy to really make some changes. Then the influence of the family also didn't take her in the right direction. She left again, but she came back again with all the dangers she knew she was going to face. So at the end of the day, you think it's a miracle. Even though at some points she didn't deliver what people were waiting for. But if you take the whole life, she gave so much to the country. She suffered so much. She has a sister. All her life she lived happily in London. Benazir didn't choose that life. And at the end she passed away when she was only in her 50s. She had 3 children. She was a wonderful mother.
Is there a legacy of Benazir Bhutto still alive today?
Yes, of course.
In which form?
The fact of being a woman and being at the head of states. I mean, this is just incredible in such a country, And she achieved that at least.
Yeah.
And she gave that strength. She gave her strength to many women.
If we one more time switch over to Imran Khan, and then with your kind permission, I would like to still explore a little bit what made you kind of leave Pakistan, if you're at liberty.
Yes, of course.
But first Imran Khan, because again, it's an interesting character of history, let's say. I wasn't aware that he goes back, that his political life goes back already so long that you actually met him. Incredible, yeah?
Yes.
It's interesting because he's now in jail.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting because what I'm hearing is that the US had a more or less, influence on him being in jail today. Yeah, because, for a number of reasons, But what's your impression here? Who are the powers behind Imran Khan being in jail today?
Maybe the US a little bit, than Pakistani people, because US want to keep a strong control over Pakistan, They have always done that, so obviously, I think this is why, it's difficult for him, because he's such an independent person in his ideas and...
Did you kind of experience American influence in the region whilst you were there as a journalist?
The influence, of course, I often discussed, tiny little things, you know, when there was the war with Afghanistan. They were supporting, you know, sending money, creating all those madrasa, and you see the mess that happened later on. So, of course.
Did it surprise you that they found Bin Laden in Pakistan? Actually, just a couple
No, I wasn't surprised. Not
a
at
couple
all.
of 100 meters from the largest military bases in Kabul.
Yeah, because you know they are always double standards. You know, on one hand they need the money from America, and on the other hand they want to do what they want, and they are religiously also very much different from America. So
What did you think when you heard that they captured him, that they killed him actually in Pakistan? What was your first thought?
I wasn't surprised. Yeah.
Back to Imran Khan.
Yes.
Is there anything, because you said you met him, is there anything that stuck out for you? When
What?
you talked to Imran
Yes.
Khan,
Imran
you
Khan.
said you interviewed him.
Yes.
So was there something that stuck out for you?
The change of life, all of a sudden, he told me he had some mystical
Experiences?
experiences, and that's why he changed totally his way of life.
From cricket player,
Yeah.
from playboy.
Yeah, to somebody really trying to help people, and yes. But on the other hand, the only thing I did like about him was his attitude with his first wife, Jemima.
You did not like, or you did like?
I didn't like
No,
it
okay.
because he was extremely dominating. He didn't let her talk. He didn't want her to answer my questions. So I was that was the only minus point, I would say. Yeah, with Jemima, and it was very
Did
dominating.
you have a good connection with this first wife? You? No.
No,
Okay.
because it was very difficult. Nobody could approach her. No journalist could talk to her. It was very difficult.
Okay. Before we move on to your personal life and exit of Pakistan,
Yeah.
Are there any highlights, any topics? I mean, highlights in terms of positive or negative that we didn't cover?
Most of the people are wonderful, very generous. Like in many Muslim countries, you know, this is part of it. Islam, maybe generosity, charity, help between them, you know, solidarity.
The Western audience, even today, or especially today, they see Pakistan as an extremely backward country. There are so many prejudices and stereotypes.
Well, they are wrong, totally wrong. And I met so many women, educated women, who are running companies and with totally free lifestyle, you know. But like Benazir was saying, and I fully agree with her, education is the problem in Pakistan. I mean, when you are educated, you change the society, you change the attitude of people, and the society can evolve. The problem is education. If you don't know, I mean, most of the women, so many women in some regions of Pakistan were still illiterate. It was terrible. So this will improve with time and with education.
Pakistan, of course, is a
Patriarchal society. Yeah.
And women there often are viewed as the property of men. Yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
I think it takes more than just a little bit of education to kind of change the whole system there.
Quite true.
And of course, the discrepancy between the rural areas and
my God.
and the cities.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in some provinces in the center of Pakistan, it's terrible. The ladies, they have to wear the burqa. They go to a restaurant. I was shocked. It was maybe near Peshawar. Once I was in a restaurant. I would enter the restaurant, sit at the table, order a meal. Then the family would come. The lady would wear the burqa. She would sit at the table, and they would bring some curtains.
Did you wear the burqa?
Yes.
All the time?
What?
Oh.
What?
Okay.
It's awful.
Okay.
You cannot walk, you cannot breathe. Especially you have to imagine the heat.
And humidity. Yeah.
It's horrible. But I talk to women wearing burqa, they are happy. They cannot imagine themselves without burqa outside. They feel protected. Because what is happening also, you know, with the Sharia and all those laws, so many cases are similar to what I'm going to tell you. A woman walks in the street, she's crossing a man. Then some neighbors is going to say, oh, she looked at the man. And she might be killed by a stone, you know, because of that, which was totally untrue and fake. But it's so dangerous for a woman, you know. So I imagine they feel protected, being totally hidden.
Did you, I mean, it's almost a self-explanatory question here, but did you feel safe in Pakistan, personally?
Yes.
I mean,
except when I went to see that drug baron, you know, between Peshawar and Kabul, I felt safe. And strangely, the attitude of men with me, being a Westerner, was different.
Of course. Yeah.
Was very different.
That brings me, and again, I still would like to flesh out, maybe we do this first, your exit from Pakistan, because it's a good segue into Morocco, of course, as a woman.
Yeah.
But your exit, as far as you feel at liberty to talk about, so how your relation and Secret Service and pressure and so on.
Yeah, and then I became pregnant, so that was the main reason also. Yeah, okay. I didn't want to be in danger with my child, and so that was the main reason of the exit. And the political pressure on Emma's father also was very strong at that time. That was the end of the 90s.
Mm-hmm. So there was never a thought that he might come with you?
Of course there was that thought, but it was impossible. More than a thought, but it was impossible.
Because, I mean,
as I told you, pressure of the government, family pressure, society pressure.
After you left, was he still okay? I mean,
Well, he could travel from time to time to see his daughter, so he came quite often. Then he couldn't come anymore. So a little sad ending of the story, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we are sitting here in your absolutely beautiful Riad, in walking distance to the very center of Marrakesh.
Yeah.
We have done it many times. To build a bridge between Pakistan and Morocco, and there are many years in between.
Yes.
Very briefly, where have you been in these intermittent years between Pakistan and Morocco?
Yes. So after Pakistan, as I told you, I went to West Indies. I was offered a job as a chief editor of that magazine for a few years. And so I went there. Then there was Italy. And then my personal life changed also. I remarried. And with my husband Olivier, we decided to come for a weekend. And we fell in love with the country, and we started looking for a house. And I'm going to tell you something funny, really. When I was in Pakistan, actually in Lahore, in the old Lahore, there's those beautiful old houses. And I was just thinking, oh my God, this is a dream. But how can one live in Pakistan? It's impossible. And somewhat, coming to Morocco, seeing those old houses in the Medina, there was the link, you know, and we started looking for a house, and we found that house that we renovated and all, but my dream became reality in a certain way, yeah.
We should say, so your house is called Riad Laurence Olivier, and no, it's not about the British actor.
Not at all.
Because
my husband's name was Olivier.
And your name is?
And my name is Laurence, and it sounded so good and elegant. And we profoundly admire Laurence Olivier, Sir Laurence Olivier, as an actor.
So this book is not the only book you wrote. You wrote at least 4 or 5 others.
Yes.
And one of which is a kind of autobiography of a Western woman coming into an Arabic country.
Yes. Discovering all the experiences. First you arrive, you're full of, everything is perfect, everything is wonderful, and slowly and gradually you discover the minus points of the country, but just like anywhere. Just like anywhere. So the book is about all my adventures for the past 14 years in Morocco.
So this house where we're sitting here is from the 1900s?
Yeah,
you
yes,
said.
yes.
And you have restored and rebuilt and expanded on it.
Yes.
Yeah. But first, what did Olivier do? Who was he? Because he's deceased, right?
He's deceased. Olivier was a notary, French notary, living in, we lived in Avignon for some years, southern France. Actually, I come from southern France also, so that was perfect. It's a beautiful part of France, a region of France. And as I told you, we came for holidays here, and we liked the atmosphere of the country, the people, the weather, the hospitality, the warmth of, the people. So we decided to go ahead, and being so close to France also. So that was, and I was very happy to renew with my Islamic liking in terms of art and culture and philosophy.
So outside at the breakfast table, I think yesterday I asked you, would you do it again? And as a behavior analyst, I noticed you said, pause, yes. So that
because we went through difficulties, of course. When you buy a property, then you have to restore it, and you might meet some people who are not quite honest, and so you have to adjust yourself with the mentality of the people. Once you have understood that, you change your attitude, but it is difficult. Psychologically, it is difficult. And if you have a project in the country, you have to remain in the country. You cannot be in France and develop a project in Morocco.
So how long did it take you?
2 years.
No, how long did it take you before you realized? Because I know you told me once a month you came here. So how long before you came?
Actually, we bought the house in 2008. Maybe 6 months after we start understanding that nothing was happening when we were not.
So you were paying everything, but nothing will happen.
Exactly, we were sending money every week, and nothing was moving. So I decided I would stay.
So you became a project manager.
I became a project manager. I was here, overlooking. Looking at everything, controlling everything every day.
Especially at the beginning, how was that? Did the people accept you? Especially
They were not very happy, but at least things advanced. Moved on. But that was, Because again, like in all developing countries, this is not. Because it's Morocco, all developing, you have to face corruption and so many other things.
What were the? I could imagine. There's this romanticized version of a Westerner. I do something like this here in Morocco or in a comparable country. So, what were the biggest challenges that you have encountered?
You have to understand the mentality. This is the key. If you know the mentality of people, or their mind works, then it's fine. But if you don't understand, if you still think as a British or a French or a Spanish, it doesn't work.
Time runs different here.
Exactly,
sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
The codes are totally different.
I looked at the house, and I will use some of those pictures in my editing, because I was amazed at the detail of the craftsmanship that you have. It starts already in the bathrooms, all the doors here.
Yes.
Where did you find it?
Look, Morocco is the most refined people of the North Africa. This is for sure. And people have traditions. And the craftsmen, they still can do whatever their job is. The wood, they work on the stucco, they do the tiles. It's absolutely wonderful. They have kept all the know-how of their job, and that's incredible. And they still do. You can't find that in Europe anymore.
This type of craftsmanship comes from a time where labor was basically free, where the Maharaja had like 100 people working day and night 24/7 to do this intricate stuff. Now, if you translate this to today, this is extremely costly.
It is very, not in Morocco.
Even in Morocco, because I see certain things that are handmade here where I think they must have spent I don't know how many weeks on one item.
True. Yeah. But it's incredible what they make. Very beautiful, very refined. Like the ceiling we have in the library, it took them 3 months to make the ceiling. First they put the plaster, then they do the drawing, and then they hand carve with a knife.
In our room, Yves Laurence Suite.
Yeah.
We have this pyramid.
Coupole. Yeah.
It's from outside. It's a pyramid on the roof, but from inside, it's a reverse pyramid with intricate carvings and colored glass.
Yes.
The sun.
Exactly. Iraqi glass. Yes, absolutely.
It's all hand carved.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. I will show the viewers because I filmed this thing. Yeah. So very briefly, so you wrote a whole book about your experience. Yeah?
Yes.
So what were the, let's say, top 3 positive or negative experiences that you did? I didn't read that book. Yeah.
You did read that book?
No, I did not.
Okay. Positive thing. Like I told you, warmth of the people, generosity, hospitality. There is something I found wonderful in that country. People talk to each other. They take the time to know each other.
You speak Arabic?
I speak a little bit Arabic. Darija, of course, obviously. You have to. It's wonderful. The human relations are wonderful. But you have to understand, they are poor people. They see you as a foreigner. A foreigner means rich. So they will try to take advantage. Sometimes they pretend to be very nice, but there is something in the back of their mind, you know. Maybe this is a little bit unpleasant. After sometimes you can find out very quickly what is their kindness is just sugarcoating, you know. There is another aim in the back of the mind. But overall, wonderful people. Solidarity is working so much here, and this is really something I admire. They are poor people, but the family, the friend, the neighbors, everybody would help, you know. Or just let me give you an example. The other day I was driving my car and my tire went flat. So that guy on his motorcycle told me, your tire. And he was kind enough to take me to a place to change the tire. He went to get a new tire for me. Who would do that in the West? Who would stop the work and they would just tell you your tire is flat and they would go on, you know? Yeah, the guy took 3-4 hours to help me. This is something really touching your heart. People are nice, intrinsically nice. This is true, you know. So this is the plus point. Refined culture, beautiful landscape, unspoiled country. Wherever you go in Morocco, the country is beautiful, well preserved. There are fantastic architects. It's a really amazing country. And no matter where you go, everything is beautiful. I mean, go to the south, to the desert, go to the north, go anywhere in the mountains. Everything is so beautiful. And they keep the country very well. They have to still develop the countries, some villages, and you still have a lot of poor people. This should change. But it's a great country. It's a great country.
The one thing that I noticed is when we walk to the center here, we walk through a urban, middle-age based area where you best could describe the traffic as chaotic, and I think I'm friendly here.
Yeah.
But what I noticed is that if you would have the same situations in the Netherlands, for example, people would scream and shout and
Yeah,
curse
no,
and
they
whatever.
don't.
But here it somehow works.
Yeah,
There is order
it's,
in this
yeah.
chaos. Somehow it seems to work.
So, yeah, but you have a lot of accidents also.
Yeah.
You know, I'm driving every day. I see some motos on the road. You know, unfortunately, because they don't respect anything.
No, it's
They
the,
don't
it's the rule
respect
of the,
anything. The rules
of the stronger.
Yeah.
If you're stronger and faster and bigger, you have priority.
True, absolutely. So you have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Very careful.
Laurence, it was my pleasure talking to you. Is there anything, before we conclude, is there anything that you would like to mention that we didn't scratch on, anything at all?
Maybe about Morocco, saying the country is really on the good track in terms of development, and the king is doing a lot. He's taking the lead to have his country as the strongest country in Africa, I would say. And he's doing a lot of things, so very good work.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned to me there's a part in Morocco which is resembling Dubai.
Yeah, this is the charm of Marrakesh. You can have both lives, 12th century, 13th century in the Medina, then you go to some areas so well developed. There is that M Avenue, it's a new area, it's fabulous. Very neat, very beautiful, with the beautiful shops and lighting and street art and incredible architecture of apartments, hotels. This is Marrakesh, this is Morocco. Actually, you know, the strong point of the country, they managed to keep their history, authenticity, not destroy it. And they move also in the 21st century. So this is a big challenge they are coping with, and they are succeeding, I think.
You just said, I think, the right word, challenge, because on one side you have absolute poverty, I mean, abject poverty, I've seen it myself.
Yeah.
And on the other side you have those hyper-modern skyscrapers, So there must be tension between those.
Yeah. But hopefully, slowly and gradually, the middle class will emerge. And again, you know, it's through education that society can evolve. And I would say people are intelligent. Moroccan people are quite intelligent, very smart, quick, sharp. They are doing extremely well when they have the possibility to express their intelligence. See Moroccan people in France, you find them everywhere at a very high level of responsibilities.
Also in the Netherlands,
Also in Netherlands, also in America. They are very, so let's hope, like with you know, education and opportunities, country will go forward and in the good direction.
I cross my fingers for you. Last question. Will you stay here?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely I would. Yeah,
I wish you the best of luck here in the absolutely beautiful Riad, Laurence, Olivier.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for this
interview. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you so much.